Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, Soapbox Edition. In this podcast, we take you behind the scenes in the Cold Fusion community. We'll talk to the leaders about what they're working on to push the language forward with tools, frameworks, modules, lessons learned, and best practices. Good morning, everybody. It's August 13th today. Teachers around the world are screaming. Parents are rejoicing as all the kids go back to school. And we got another great week of CFML news for you.
Man, my kids don't go to school till tomorrow. I got the short end of the stick here in Kansas. What's up with that?
Oh, yeah, I've got one go tomorrow and a couple more on Thursday, but it's just that week is here, and yeah, I can feel the tears flowing.
I tell you what, my kids are ready for school, man. In fact, my middle daughter has been ready for school since the first day of summer. She's been counting it down, so like whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, we got a new backpack.
She didn't get those jeans from Daddy. That's for sure.
Yeah. We just made it more and more boring as the summer went on. So we started with the trip to New Zealand. So after that, everything was kind of dull. So
yeah, it's hard to top the trip to New Zealand. I saw your pictures on Facebook, and once you go there, anything's just going to be boring, man. You can't top that.
Yeah, pretty fun. Everyone's here dying of the heat, and we're over there playing in the snow and stuff like that. So pretty cool.
So where's that handsome redneck guy you normally have on the show? Is he gone today? What happened to him?
Yeah, we kicked him out. No, we thought we'd switch it up a little bit.
Next week, if his behavior improves, you'll see about letting him back on the set.
Yeah, no, we just gotta give him a bit of time off. You know, too much Andrew's not a good thing, right? And apparently,
he needs his beauty sleep.
Yeah, exactly. And we all got to get some work done. So, speaking of that, let's get on with the show. So, some news and events for this week. I just wanted to let you guys know that there's more than one podcast. So there's not just one Modernize or Die podcast. This is the CFML News edition that you're listening to or watching right now. But we also have a Soapbox edition. And we released another episode last week with Brian Class. So we did a lot of talking about his adventures with Cold Fusion and AWS and how he integrates those two. Uses the right tool for the right job. And the catchphrase of that one was undifferentiated heavy lifting and how you should let Amazon do that for you. So that was a cool episode, but we also have a few from Luis Mahano about the history of Ortus and ColdBox and everything else, and Pete Freitag as well. So we had him talking about his many arrays of products, including Fictionator, his newest one, announced into the box. So some good stuff there and more coming too. So if you guys don't know about that.
If a Cold Fusion developer has a naughty mouth, we wash their mouth out with Soapbox. Is that how that works?
Yeah, pretty much. But Soapbox is more interview based. So this one, obviously the news, we just give you lots of updates, small little bits and pieces, and trying to make sure you're up to speed on everything. But the Soapbox is where we let them get up on their soapbox and really, spout and spray whatever they want to talk about. So. If they want to talk about AWS and how great it is, or Luis talking about ColdBox or other things, just gives us more time to really talk to them, deep dive into it, and have a real interview, a real discussion, and
And how would I find those recordings again, Gavin, for the Soapbox?
So Soapbox, if you go to soapbox.modernizeordie.io, you can get to the website, and that has a link to the YouTube channel as well as all the different ways you can get that podcast. So we're on Spotify and all the other regular podcast locations as well. And you can also go on YouTube on the Ortus channel on YouTube. We have a playlist for the Soapbox, just like we have the CFML News playlist. So you can get all of those on YouTube as well. And the links will be in the show notes as well. But again, we're having more interviews coming out soon. If you guys have anyone you want us to interview or find out more about, let us know. We'll add that too, and it'll be good to get that out there. So we're looking to
community suggestions would be pretty interesting to see what people want to hear talked about, or maybe who they want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously, we can have Brad and everyone from the Ortus team on, but we're trying to get some community involvement too, and that's why Pete and Brian are there. And the next one's going to be with Sam Knowlton. He's a customer, or I guess a customer of ColdBox, and he uses ColdBox as he talks about how, ColdBox was introduced to his company and how it's been working really great, and and how you can get started too. Not everything's a greenfield project, and how you can piecemeal things in, use some of the standalone libraries, and so that one should be coming out either this week or next week. So keep an eye out for that one as well. But yeah, we don't want to make it just a box thing. So we're gonna have customers and community members. So hopefully even some of the Adobe teams coming up here soon, so we can talk about the conferences and finding out a little more about what's going on there.
Pretty cool.
Yep. So sounds like we had some pricing updates on the bootcamp in Bangalore.
Yeah, the India bootcamp in Bangalore, we've reduced the price now. It's only $199, which is a really good price for a 2-day bootcamp. And I believe there's also a group discount, $99. So if you guys know anybody in the Bangalore area in India, or maybe you are from there, please check that out, because we've tried to make that as attractive as possible, and we definitely need help spreading the word. It's a little bit harder to make sure we've reached all of the people that would be interested in that in Bangalore. So definitely pass that along to anybody you know, if you're in any kind of chat rooms or Facebook groups or anything that would have people from there.
Yeah, and then let us know if you got any questions about it too. If you need more information, or you need a letter to show your boss why you're going to go do this training, let us know. We can try and help you out with that. But yeah, we're trying to spread the word. And last week we talked about Ortus being in Latin America and trying to start another Into the Box there, and we're doing training in Germany and everywhere else, and India is just another piece of that. We're trying to spread the word and get people the opportunities that everybody else is so used to here in the States. So yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, and it's a great boot camp. It's the ColdBox Zero to Hero. So if you're starting fresh with ColdBox, or if you used it a bit before, you're going to get a good walkthrough. In the 2-day version of that boot camp, you get a lot of detail. So it's a great boot camp, and don't forget, that's in October. I think the 16th and 17th, if we look right. Sorry, I'm just double checking that here.
Get the dates on that.
Yeah, 16th and 17th of October. So Luis is going to be the one running that. So jump in. And like I said, if you guys know somebody or know a company, they can get the group discount too. That'll be a great deal. So a lot of great content, and we're hoping we can meet some new people out in India there.
Perfect. So we had a webinar last week on ForgeBox Enterprise.
Whoops, I forgot to mention that last week for everybody, so sorry if you missed it, but there is a replay available.
Yeah, we had the recording.
Yeah, so it was Luis and Javier. They did a great job showing off the new editions of ForgeBox. So you guys obviously know ForgeBox is our package management repository, I guess is the best way to put it. But there are different versions now available. So we have a Pro version, the Orgs version, and the Enterprise. So they're great little distinctions and extra new features. I've been working really hard on this, trying to make it a tool for the entire CFML community. So it's a great little webinar. You guys should check it out.
Yeah, so I mean, we've looked a lot at how things like NPM Enterprise work, really built around teams and around corporate organizations that want to have a workflow based on package management that's kind of private and secure for them. So that's where ForgeBox Enterprise sits, and it's a pretty exciting new set of features to be able to offer the Cold Fusion world. There's really nobody that's done this in the CFML space, and so check out that webinar if you have questions about that, for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting for those of you dealing with NPM and some of those other package management software. Don't worry, we didn't get the enterprise pricing that they have. I think we're, a fraction of the price that those charge. It's kind of crazy when we looked at what those are charging too. So it is a commercial version, but it's Cold Fusion commercial version, not JavaScript pricing. That's for sure, because those were ridiculous.
Yeah, you feel bad sometimes for, charging money when you look at what competitors charge and you're like, oh, holy cow, they charge that much? Okay, I guess this isn't that bad at all then.
Yeah. So that was to me when you guys set the price and whatever, I looked up NPM, I'm like, oh, that's a steal. So, but anyway, so if you guys want to know a little more, the webinar is available on the Ortus Solutions website. If you go to events/webinars, you can see it there. And as we do more webinars, we'll be putting them in that location too. So good to know anyway. So it looks like the early bird for Adobe CF Summit might just be regular pricing because they have not changed it yet. Every week we tell you, quick, before the price goes up, but the price is still the same. I checked again this morning. So I'm not sure when they're going to put that price up, but again, still a great price.
Yeah. See, if Adobe listened to our podcast, they would know these things, Gavin.
Yep. But yeah, so the price is still good. I mean, if they're getting sales and they got the numbers, then yeah, maybe the prices are right there. But again, the conference pass $99. The pre-conference and the conference together is only $348. If you want to do the specialist program, those prices kick in. So I guess while we're talking about it, then we'll tell you a bit more about CF Summit and the specialist program. So with the summit itself, again, it's October 1st and 2nd. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday. The pre-conference is the day before on the 30th. It's a huge conference. You really need to make it out there. It's in Vegas. A lot of fun. Adobe puts on a good show. And yeah, the early bird registration.
Ortus puts on a good show at our booth too. Gavin does salsa dancing. You should see him.
No, I don't do that, and you would not want to see that. That's for sure. But yeah, so CF Summits, had their call for speakers. They've announced the sessions. There's a lot of great speakers out there. We got 4 or 5 from Ortus. There's 5 or so from Adobe and a lot of community members. All that information is on the website now. So if you go to cfsummit.adobeevents.com, you can see all that. Check out the sessions. They've got the schedule out as well, so you can figure out, you start planning your days and figure out what you want to go to. There's a lot of great sessions. So it's some hard decisions, but all that information is out there. So if you haven't signed up, you still can. Make sure when you do that, though, to be mindful of the workshops when you're booking your travel, because the day before is the Adobe Workshops. And so they have a few programs now. They've got the Specialist program, which is a certification for Adobe Cold Fusion. And they also have 3 conference trainings. So Brad, I don't know if you heard us last week, but we also mentioned they had the Performance Monitoring Toolset workshop now is available. So you can pick from that one.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, so that one's from the Adobe Cold Fusion team. So their performance monitoring is pretty big. It's a new release with 2018, I believe. And so they're doing that. Charlie Earhart's going to be talking about going from 0 to 60 with Docker and Cold Fusion images. And then Pete has his Cold Fusion security workshop that he'll be doing. It's a really popular workshop, and everyone I know that goes to it loves it.
That one always scares the pants off of you.
Yep. It surely does.
Every time Luis hears Pete Freitag speaking anything, he's like, "Oh my gosh, Brad, we have to go check all of our code. We're gonna get hacked, man."
Yep. So great workshops.
Puts a good kind of fear in you.
Yep. Great workshops there, and right after the conference, we got our own trainings that we're doing, right, Brad?
Woo woo! Yes, we do. Don't touch that dial. That's right. We're doing 0 to Hero. Introduction to ColdBox, and we're doing our Hero to Superhero API edition. Sorry about that. After CF Summit, so you want to don't fly home immediately. You want to be able to pick those up, and we're kind of catching both ends of the spectrum there, right? You want a nice, easy introduction to ColdBox built around writing something from scratch. You get 0 to Hero. If you're already familiar with ColdBox, you really want to dig in, learn about modules, learn about REST APIs. Then we got the Hero to Superhero.
Yep, and so, you and Brad, you and Luis are doing the superhero training, yep. And then myself and Eric are going to do the Cold Fusion 0 to Hero. So if you can't get enough of us at these podcasts, you come hang out with us at the trainings. And
you don't get enough of us.
But yeah, so that'll be the Thursday, Friday, and so we finish at 5 p.m.
3rd and 4th.
Yep. So if you guys need to get a flight out that day, you should still be able to make it. And
you can't leave Vegas on Friday, man. It's impossible. The only flights in Vegas are coming in on Friday.
Yeah. Well, the plane's going to leave too.
Me, I'm going to Kansas City, and I can never get a flight out on Friday night. So I always just stay there Friday night, and then Saturday morning I'll find a flight that morning. But that's just what I do. Plus, it's nice to not have to, run out immediately the last day. But I'll be there all the way through Saturday morning, basically.
And if you guys are listening right now, you have a special discount code for the podcast listeners. So if you use podcast so podcast 10. When you're checking out for this, you can actually save 10% on our workshop, and that is good for the India workshop and also our CF Camp workshops that we'll be talking about soon. So save 10% on this.
10.
And we're going to be in the...
What if they type podcast 100? Will it give them 100% off?
No, we already tried that. Andrew asked that last week.
Dang it.
But
you better watch out what you see about Andrew. I see he's lurking in the chat.
Uh-oh. Yeah, but this...
What a creep.
Yeah, but our trainings will be at the area resort, so we're right there by the strip. So, nice location. We're going to be in a great conference area inside the suites. So, it looks like a really nice setup.
Luis's espresso machine. What else could you want, people?
Yeah. It'll be pretty well set up. It'll be a good time. And again, we do small workshops, so you get that personal attention you need. So we'll make sure that everybody leaves, ready to go. And afterwards, we have Slack channels open, so we can, keep you guys up to date. And then a good thing about the workshops is the users, the people who are attending are actually really helpful, and they'll help each other as well. So we got like little groups of friends. We'll see them at the conferences now, hanging out together and that, because they met at a workshop. And, that's how we met Andrew Davis, and
you, Gavin.
Yeah, and me, yep.
It's amazing how many people, how many people I know or even work with that I first met at an Ortus training. So this is the gateway to something, success and fame. I don't know. You don't want to miss it though.
Yeah, that's the thing. These workshops are great ways, to do some networking, get some learning in, get inspired.
Networking, that's the $10 word for it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just a good way to get going. And people there, they're the ones that are taking the boot camps. They really want to learn and push themselves, and you can see that. And it's a great learning experience. You meet some good people, and yeah, so we're really excited about that one. It's coming up here pretty soon, only a couple months away.
How would somebody go about finding that, Gavin? If they were like, that sounds fantastic, I want to register right now.
Well, if you go to
they have to do?
If you go to ortussolutions.com, we have a couple things popping up there. Our newsletter sends reminders out as well. So if you're not on the Ortus newsletter, you can sign up on our site as well. But if you go to ortussolutions.com/events, you'll see all our upcoming events. You can sign up there, and of course, the show notes are going to have links to all these blog posts and events, so you guys can see those there too.
All right, I just tried it. ortussolutions.com. I clicked on events and then events overview. Boom, there it is. CF Summit, CF Camp, Bangalore. Perfect.
Yep. So we already
I might go to a couple of these.
Yeah. So we already mentioned the Bootcamp Bangalore, but I wanted to make sure you guys know the discount code is good for that too. Again, October 16th to 17th, Luis will be in Bangalore for a 2-day bootcamp. The price has just come down, so it's definitely a steal. Don't miss that one. And then after that, next on the list is CF Camp. So CF Camp is the 17th and 18th in Germany, and you will be there. So I'll let you talk more about this, because I know you've been a couple times. You love CF Camp.
I do love CF Camp. They're one of the only conferences that have a fish almost every meal. They have such good food selection. You can tell it's all about the food for me. Eric Peterson's going to be making out for his first year at CF Camp, which is super exciting. He's going to be leading one of the workshops. I think he's doing a test box workshop before CF Camp. And I'm going to be there doing Hero to Superhero API edition again, like what we're doing at CF Summit. Jorge Reyes, who's from Ortus Solutions, will also be out there. Luis is a total lame-o because he's going to be in India having an amazing time or something like that. But those three Ortus people minimum should be there. And CF Camp has been posting a bunch of tweets, actually. Kai's been cranking out tweets on all the different topics for CF Camp. I'm pretty excited. He said it's basically the most diverse lineup so far. And they had an interesting call for speakers this year where they basically kind of did a blind selection on the first round. So all the topics, they didn't know who the presenter was. It was just pure. The first round of picks were purely based on just the content and the titles. So that's why there's a heck of a lot of new speakers in CF Camp this year, in addition to a lot of the kind of normal faces you see. So I'm excited to see some of those new ones. But I mean, if you're anywhere in the Europe area or somewhere where you can make it over to CF Camp, it's always a great time. We have a ton of fun, and occasionally people dress up in sumo suits and wrestle. You really don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. My favorite thing is probably the Code Wars. one of the evening events that Gert's been in charge of several different years. Like they change up what they do every year, but the Code War is they have like teams of people in front of laptops, and you're given a programming problem, and you have to solve it. Who can get it solved in the least amount of times. We have a lot of fun at CF Camp. So anyway,
yeah,
don't miss it if you have the opportunity to go to it.
And just so you don't miss it, there's also the orange squeezing machine that I've heard you talk about every other week.
That's right, yeah. There's this hopper of oranges from heaven. You just push this magical button and orange juice is emitted. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, speaking...
I have it on good authority. It'll be back this year, so...
Very cool.
Good stuff.
Yeah, well, speaking of CF Camp, they're actually the first blog tweet and video of the week because, as you mentioned, CF Camp's been tweeting quite a bit. And so what they did is they had a Twitter feed, and every day they've been spotlighting a new speaker/session. And so we got a link in the show notes there. But if you go and follow CF_Camp on Twitter, you'll see them. And every day they're announcing one of the speakers and, highlighting that. So those are pretty cool little series of tweets there. So it's a good way to start this section of the site. And our buddy Ben Nadell's been busy again. Only 3 blog posts that I saw this week, so he didn't take over the whole entire show this time. But
he only did 3 blog posts. Oh, Ben's really slipping.
Well,
I remember back when Ben would do like 8 blog posts a week. Him and Ray Camden would be like neck and neck to see who could hammer out the most posts. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah, and so Ben's been working with the function local mode set to modern to looking at, basically how Lucy deals with unscoped variables. So I thought it was kind of an interesting setup. So he's got 3 blog posts there. So the first one was using function localhost modern to safely render some ColdFusion templates. So he was sort of doing like a static renderer. He said, Jekyll and whatever was overkill for what he was doing. So he's using that. And then he did another one looking at their function local mode, and then the third one was basically unexpected value assignments using that. So he was using the different settings for the local mode in the application CFC that Lucy lets you do, and instead of unscoped variables being assigned straight to your variables dot, they were getting put in the local. So he was playing with that, and so it was kind of interesting.
Basically how ColdFusion should have been written from the beginning is what we're saying.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, inside a function, if you don't var scope something, basically it's...
Inside of a CFC, specifically.
Yeah. CFC function, yeah, I guess so. So yeah, so
you can have a UDF and a CFM template. It's still the same thing, but it only matters inside of a CFC, really.
Yeah. So if you don't var scope something, that variable becomes part of the variable scope, not the local scope. And so a lot of headaches, a lot of security risks, a lot of problems.
Worst design decision ever in ColdFusion. And I'm absolutely dead serious when I say that. I absolutely think that was the worst thing that Macromedia ever did to the language. I know why they did it, because at the time they were like, oh, variables is the default scope. We'll just keep that. No. I don't know how many. That has caused untold bugs and thread safety issues over the years. So local mode basically lets you flip it back to how it should have been to begin with. But the problem is it's not compatible with frameworks like ColdBox, right? You turn on local mode and ColdBox doesn't work. So you can set it at like a CFC level or a function level, which is super cool. And that's what Ben's been playing with his blog post is like, you'll have the setting off for my whole server, but I'll turn it on for the CFC and then play around with how it works.
Yeah, and just so you know, Luis is on a scoping drive. He's got inspired, and he's been working hard on all of his scoping. So yeah, we're upping our scoping levels. So I think he's working hard to try and make ColdBox, not just more efficient by using scopes, but just a little safer. And hopefully to be able to run some of these types of settings and ColdBox be able to work the way you'd like it to. So I know we
do have full null, so I can't say it right. Full null support built into ColdBox now, which we've had for a while, because it used to be if you enabled that in Lucy, ColdBox wouldn't work. So hopefully coming soon, we'll be able to support that. You mentioned scoping. I think it was Zach Spitzer that's been talking a lot about getting performance and increases by scoping variables. Because ColdFusion has always had that scope hunting, as I refer to it. I would call it a feature in air quotes. where you could just, you're like output a variable and Cold Fusion will just go randomly dig through the scopes, like, it's digging through the trash until it finds a scope with that variable in it. There's actually, depending on your code, you do that in a loop, a couple million times, there's a decent amount of overhead. And Lucy has some settings to sort of minimize the scopes that it looks in, but just adding an explicit scope to your variable, always saying arguments dot or local dot or variables dot. There's some interesting statistics kind of come out on just how much you can save in the right scenarios, and in a tight loop and core business logic. If you do it once per page, it's not that big of a deal. But anytime you attach the word performance on the end of a sentence, Luis is going to be like, what? What? Performance? I'm interested. So,
yep, for sure.
We'll see where that leads us.
Yep, it'll be more verbose. Says people fighting with the one-liners versus verbose and performance. So I guess it's just the way it is. But I always find the performance stuff interesting.
Yeah, I'm a minimalist. I like not having the extra clutter of code in my scopes if there's no ambiguity. But if there's an actual significant performance difference, then I'm always open to it, open to scoping it if it's going to make a difference. You also have to be careful with bugs. So this isn't even on our list. I'm off script real quick. Dominic Watson sent us a pull request to ColdBox a couple weeks ago, and it was a really interesting behavior where if you call a function and set it into like a variable, local dot, this may or may not be null, right? And when you do an is null check on it, you have to be really careful because is null will also scope hunt. So local dot my variable, which may or may not be null, may not exist, but URL dot my variable, which may or may not be null, might exist. And you have to be careful because this null will search those scopes until it finds it. So with great power, I just watched Into the Spider-Verse last night with my daughter. With great power comes responsibility, right? So as much as I like the non-verboseness of non-scoping, you have to be careful because you get little interesting bugs that can creep into your code. So
yeah, for sure. Well, looks like we had a couple other blog posts. No, Eva Goris, is that what you said his name? I'm really bad at pronouncing names. That's my specialty. But he had a couple of good blog posts. So one, he was talking about QB, one of the modules that Eric Peterson built based on the Laravel module, I think Eloquent. So
yeah, Eloquent, I think.
Yeah, so he was talking about how you can intercept the QB module query executor in a ColdBox application to be able to sort of log the queries and stuff. So Query Builder abstracts a lot of that away from you so you don't see the SQL being generated. Unless you want to, you can dump it out. But obviously, if you're running your app, if you want to keep track of it, he's using Interceptor to go in there, grab the SQL, and log it out so he could access it later, which is pretty neat. So
yeah,
I'm sure there's probably a setting.
Logbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, since QB uses Logbox under the hood, you can just use those built-in Logbox features, and you can enable or disable logging for that category and how fine you want it to be. It works pretty nicely.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure there was something built into QB, but if there isn't, the Interceptor it's a nice little tutorial on how to use an Interceptor for stuff like that, which was pretty cool. But he was also looking at how to run Command Box Cold Fusion instance as a Windows server. So I saw a couple of blog posts about this recently, but that got me thinking about something we've been working on with Command Box for quite a while, right? So some behind the scenes secret information here.
Yeah, exactly. So Eva Goris has a little task runner that you can use to create a Windows service with NSSM, which is the non-sucking service manager. And that's been a more and more common request that we get is people wanting to set up a VM. They want to use Command Box to power the servers, maybe in production or a staging environment. But they want to be able to start and stop it as a Windows service like they get with a typical Cold Fusion installation. So we've actually created a commercial product now, a module for Command Box called the Service Manager, which does the same kind of thing that Eva Goris has in his task runner, but it has a lot more features and commands. It's also professionally supported by Ortus, and you can create and update your services, your Windows services from the command line. So that's pretty cool. Right now, it uses NSSM as well behind the scenes. We have support for Windows right now, and we're actually going to be adding support for Ubuntu soon as well to be able to create services with Systemd. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to be publishing the marketing page for our Command Box Service Manager module. I think it's going to be, we're still kind of finalizing the pricing. I think it's going to be like $49 a year per server for the license for that, and that'll basically help you manage all of the Windows instances or the Windows services, and it'll be good for no matter how many services you have on that server. So we're excited about that. It's definitely been a lot of interest in doing that.
Yeah, especially with command box being used for a lot of Docker stuff for the longest time, people are wanting to take advantage of that outside of Docker, and with the services in the VMs definitely makes sense. But if you guys want to try and wing it yourself and do it DIY style, you can look at that blog post there and get an idea how it works. And like I say, if you're looking for more or more stable, we have that module coming out soon, so we'll help you take care of that.
Actually, you know what? Let me put the link to the docs. We do already have public documentation for the Service Manager. Let me put that in here, and we can add that to the show notes as well. That way, if anyone's interested in that commercial module, they can check out the docs for it. I'll just put it in our show notes.
Sounds good. So we also have a few blog posts from Pete Freitag. So it looks like he's been working with CloudWatch a little bit lately. I know last week we discussed the Ubuntu, how to send your Ubuntu logs to CloudWatch. He also made a blog post about sending Nginx logs to CloudWatch Logs Agent and pushing your Tomcat logs to AWS CloudWatch. So CloudWatch is sort of a log aggregator. For those of you who don't know, it's got some pretty nice features, some nice search, and some nice tooling. So if you're using AWS for anything else, or even if you're not, you can still push your logs up there. So I'm not sure how the pricing matches up with some of those other logging tools out there, but it's something to look at. And Pete's got some really detailed blog posts there. And he also has another one about tuning Tomcat IIS connectors with the worker properties in Server XML. So that's a pretty interesting one as well. I guess, a lot of his consulting, he works with clients on a regular basis, helping them with their tuning and security. And so he made a nice little blog post there to, help share that information. So that was nice of Pete to do that.
I like the what was it, CloudWatch? Is that what it was called?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did I say that right?
Yep.
Yeah, the CloudWatch Log Agent. Because we've noticed that quite a bit. We move people to Docker, which is great, right? Spin up servers, kill them off left and right. Who cares? And I'll show you how. But you have a server that dies, health check URL fails, boom, it murders the container, and then it's gone. A new one spins up, and then you say, well, what was wrong with the old container? Well, I don't know. It's gone now. We murdered it, right? And so you're like, oh, well, do we have the logs? And you have the console logs, but that doesn't always tell you everything. So it's really important to be able to get those logs extracted in a place where you can kind of analyze them after the fact. Otherwise, in like a Docker environment, you lose all that juicy information as soon as you, kill the container off.
Yeah, logging is even more important now. And it doesn't take much to get them all set up, but you definitely should think about that. Because, even in tools like Portainer that help you manage your swarm and stuff, if your container is murdered, as you put it, it dies. You have to make sure you go to the right place to find the logs, because if you look from the wrong node, the logs aren't there. They're kept on the one that it was on, but you have to find out where it was. It's a real pain. But having CloudWatch is a nice...
Even if the container hasn't been deleted, you can't SSH into it because it's not running anymore. So you'd have to mount the file system somewhere to be able to introspect it. So it's definitely not nearly as easy to get access to those container logs after it's been murdered dead. So
yeah. So CloudWatch is one good option. I know there's others out there, but I'm just not... I can't think of them right now. But anyway, so there was another post here about Microsoft. They do a lot of cool reposting on old websites, and the older blog posts to sort of give you a refresher. I got a kid in here. George, out of here. I'm on a call. So they reposted an older one back from April, and it reminded me that Steve Nealon took over the Framework 1 maintainer, and he talks about the framework's future a little bit there. So I'd forgotten about that. I haven't heard too much about it in a while, and it just sort of popped up on my Twitter feed. So I just wanted to remind everybody. So it's got some interesting information about the future of the framework and how he's going to, approach moving forward. So those of you using Framework 1, it might be some good information if you haven't already heard.
Right on.
And then there's one from you. You've been on the Twitterverse again. So it looks like you've been playing with some stuff.
We like to call it the Tweety pages, Gavin.
The Tweety pages?
Yeah, Basic Space and the Tweety pages.
So it looks like you've been playing with something with Scott, huh?
Oh, I'm always playing with something. Yeah, Scott Steinbeck and I had been playing around. It kind of started as like, yeah, wouldn't it be cool? I did. And then we're like, we should build this. We've been making a module for Command Box, which has actually worked a little bit better than I thought it would, to be honest. For anybody using Gitbook, if you've seen any of the Ortus docs, our cold box docs, Command Box docs, we use a service called Gitbook. It's got an online editor. And the first iteration of Gitbook had a PDF exporter, and they rebuilt the Gitbook website a while back. And they dropped the PDF export functionality, and it's been coming soon for like a year. So we were like, you know what, we should just make our own library for creating PDFs out of Gitbook. So if any of you guys are using Gitbook for anything, we've been hard at work on a Command Box module, and Luis just finished the Learn CFML in 100 Minutes book, the modern CFML he's been working on, and it's going to be one of our first uses of this module. It's going to be a Command Box module. You install it in the Command Box. You can get an export of your Gitbook content. It's all JSON files, and our module will go through, build the HTML, export it into PDF for you. And we're pretty excited about that. And especially because I get tired of people always building cool little tools like this, command line tools in Node and in Python. And Scott wanted to use Puppeteer for it. And I was like, no, we're going to use Cold Fusion, man. Kick this thing's butt in CFML. So this is a CFML project, proudly running on Command Box. So if you're using Gitbook for anything and you've been like, man, I wish I could make a PDF out of this, we're going to have this module released soon, and we're pretty excited. We're going to add support for like Mobi and EPUB formats if we can, and HTML. So anyway, fun little project. And if we're lucky, maybe we can get some of the greater Gitbook community out there using our module, because a lot of people wish they had PDF exporters. And so my goal in life is that total random people on the internet will be installing Command Box so they can use this module in the same manner they install Python or Node, today to run ad hoc CLI tooling. So anyway, that's my exciting little project I've been hammering on this week with Scott.
Yep. So Brad is on Twitter talking about that. And if you're not following Brad already, his Twitter handle was B for boy, D for dad, W429S. And you can explain that if you want, because...
What's the W? Is the W for what?
Probably. But yeah, so that's his Twitter handle.
That username is a student ID I had in high school when I was dual enrolled for some college credit in the local 2-year college. And I always used it because it was the one username that was never taken. When you go to sign up for your first Hotmail account, and like every username you think of was taken, BW429S, never taken. So I've used it to this day.
Yeah, I always have to look it up too because I can never remember it. So anyway, if you follow Brad, you'll catch up on some stuff. He's always posting and defending Cold Fusion's honor about being a dead language or whatnot. So it's always interesting to follow Brad because it's
the
never
honor of
boring.
Grayskull, Gavin.
Yeah.
For the honor of Grayskull.
So we also had some job opportunities pop up on Twitter this week. So depending on where in the world you are, there's a full-time position for a Cold Fusion developer in Brisbane, Queensland, and Australia. It looks like they're wanting FuseBox experience or other Cold Fusion frameworks. So looking for a contract role based in Brisbane.
Brisbane?
Yep, Brisbane,
See,
Australia.
My English is a little wonky, but I always said Brisbane.
You'd be wrong.
A-N-E. Brisbane.
Yeah.
Years of my life spent saying that wrong.
I know, it's like Dunedin. I mean, some of the kids were like, where's Dunedin? I'm like, yeah, that's not how you say that. But
American.
Yep. But it looks like the Denver Fire Department's looking for somebody too, and the Fire Systems Technical Specialist for a web developer in Colorado. So Denver, Colorado. So if you want to go work for the Fire Department but don't want to go battle some fires, you can do that.
Yeah, when you talk about putting out fires, you could like literally mean that now. Like your wife calls at the job, like, "What's going on, honey?" "I'm just putting out fires." Like, no, literally.
Yeah, that's my nickname for myself. I'm the, a web developer fireman because I'm always putting out fires here, there, and everywhere. Hopefully, most of them are not mine.
That's what we do. Some of us just start fires.
Yep. So, okay. And then if you're in India too, we also have some podcasts in India. Sorry, not podcasts, positions in India. The Accenture has 3 different positions depending on where you are in India. So I can't pronounce the names. So I'll let you guys look them up on the Get CFML job site, which has a lot of posts. Some of them show up on Twitter, some of them don't. So if you guys are looking for positions, go to getcfmljobs.com and you can get those. So
Perfect.
So next, that brings us to ForgeBox Module of the Week. And right away, I guess we should just say that the Module of the Week is not an accurate title for this section anymore.
It's really the ForgeBox Package of the Week. Not all packages are modules.
Yep, and that's true. The last couple we've talked about haven't always been modules. So so this week we're going to go with
modules are kind of box specific, right? But ForgeBox is really a general purpose repository. So you can put anything you want. There's Preside packages, there's Mura packages, there's Framework 1 packages. But yeah, so this week our package of the week is ColdBox. Ding, 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 ding.
Yep.
Am I supposed to read this little? ColdBox is a conventions modular MVC development platform for Cold Fusion. Am I supposed to read that?
Well, it's there for the show notes, but I mean, I guess you could read it out. But yeah, so last week we talked about TestBox being the most installed package on ForgeBox, and ColdBox is right up there. It's the second most installed package, so we thought that'd be a good place. I mean, it's 13 plus years old now, right? It's been around for a long time. It's
June 2006, baby.
Yep. So it's been around a long time. It's probably it's definitely the most active framework around for sure. And obviously professionally supported by Ortus Solutions. Lots of trainings going on. You hear about all the time. But on ForgeBox alone, there's been over 35 releases. We're up to version 5.5. So
I'm looking at the versions right now. We released. We had 5.4 was in April, 5.41 was in May, 5.5 was in June. We have 5.6 snapshots, so a regular stream of new ColdBox versions are always flowing in.
Yep. ColdBox, like I said, obviously builds in the module framework for you as well. So a lot of the modules on ForgeBox are available through ColdBox, and a lot of the great things you need to do, you shouldn't have to rewrite, are available with the ColdBox framework. Just plug in a module, and we've got built-in support for environment variables and all those other things, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to try and jimmy rig everything into your homebrew built framework. It's already available in ColdBox, and the conventions are there, the standards are there, the documentation is there. So it's definitely the way to go, and that's why we're seeing so many people in these boot camps are getting more and more popular. So home built framework is the only answer on the State of the CF Union survey every year that now has more votes than ColdBox. ColdBox is the most used MVC framework, and the only thing with more votes is home built. But if you divide that out by how many versions of the home built one there is the most used framework. But yeah.
Well, then, that's the thing. ColdBox is like somebody took all the stuff that you're going to need to build anyway to make your site, and they put it all in one place, and it's modular, so you only install what you need. It's like we want to help you get the job done and get paid.
Yep.
So. Hey, now you're a coder. Get the code on. Get paid. I don't know. I'm still working on that one.
Yeah. But yeah, so ColdBox, obviously, if you haven't used it, check out our documentation. It's not as big and scary as most people think. You only need to use what you need to get going. You don't have to install everything. It's not the kitchen sink that it once was. It's modular now, so you only install the modules you need. So it's definitely quick.
A lot of people still want to learn it all.
Yeah, I mean,
we're not going to stop you. I see a lot of people that are like, I'm going to learn a new framework. I'm going to learn ColdBox. And they see all these modules. They're like, whoa, .env, JWT, Stevie storages, and we're like, you don't have to use any of that stuff. Those are all add-ons. They're like, no, I want to learn everything. Take a bite and chew it, swallow, take another bite. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll get up to your eyeballs and all the possibilities.
That's
So,
that's the reason
anyway.
we have this section on here every week, so we can talk about some of the different packages and modules that are available to you, and how you could use them to make your life easier. But
Look at these stats: 34 versions of ColdBox,
on
93,000
ForgeBox,
installs. Did you read that already?
yeah, that's 93,000. I think TestBox has like 99,000 or something. I mean, and actually, you know what? TestBox was double.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
That's a lot.
and above all the other packages
Now,
too. Like it's
that doesn't differentiate between like the automated installations from source control, just for what it's worth. But still, that's a lot of installations of ColdBox. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So, in TestBox, because all the continuing and the continuous integration stuff, that was a lot higher. But if you look from the next packages down from ColdBox, most of them are actually modules that ColdBox uses or other frameworks inside of ColdBox uses. So, like CB validation, internalization, etc.
Yeah, if you guys are curious how we know what the most installed packages are, you can literally go to ForgeBox.io and scroll down a little bit and click most installs just right before the pagination, and it'll literally just reload the page and it'll be sorted by installs. Like, we didn't have to like run anything in the database to look this. You can actually just scroll through the list. I mean, it's really fun. You have TestBox with it was 184,000 installs. Dang.
Yeah, all that CI working.
93,000. Java Loader is third.
Yeah, well, I think Java Loader is a module. Fourth. So we use that in lots of our ColdBox stuff. So I think some of the main ones.
Validation.
Yeah.
And then Lucy. Lucy is like the 6th most installed thing ever. What did Lucy eclipse Cold Fusion?
Yep, it's down the list a little more.
I think Cold Fusion used to be ahead of Lucy. Look at that.
Yeah.
There have been more people that have installed Lucy. 46,000 installations of Lucy and 42,000 installations of Adobe Cold Fusion. That's actually diverged a bit since Into the Box, because we looked at these stats just back in April.
Yeah, they're pretty much
awesome.
Hit to hit at that point. So,
all right, this is too much fun. All right, if you want to lose like half a day, go to ForgeBox, click most installs, and you can scroll down all day long and see how cool it is.
Yep. Okay.
And I just came up with a ticket for ForgeBox, Gavin. we need to number format those installations, put commas in there.
Yeah.
When we first built this, we probably didn't anticipate hundreds of thousands of installations.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Okay, well, that brings us to the VS Code hints, tips, and tricks of the week. So this week, we're actually going to talk about not an extension like we usually do, but we're going to talk about some shortcuts and key maps. So one of the cool things about VS Code is the shortcuts. They got a lot of great shortcuts, and we're linked in the show notes of the reference sheets for Mac OS, Windows, and Linux, so you can see the shortcuts. But you can also customize them. And another cool thing is that you can actually use key maps, which are available, and you can search in the Marketplace Visual Studio to find some of your favorite old editors' key maps and then use them. So if you like Sublime and the way the key maps work, you can just install the Sublime key map, and then all your shortcuts are what Sublime used to use. And
so tell me what a key map is, Gavin.
So basically, it's a set of shortcuts and settings based on, your previous mapping. So if you want to basically set up to have Eclipse, I know you used to use CF Builder, so if you want to use Eclipse's old shortcuts and everything else, you can install that key map, and then it basically updates all the settings necessary in VS Code to act more like CF Eclipse. So all your shortcuts,
all right.
And some of the settings.
So that's how you control what, Control Shift C and Control Shift whatever do.
Yep, and if you want to see which ones are available, you can do Control K, Control M, and then it'll automatically bring up the recommended key maps inside the search for you, so you can see which ones are available.
Nice. Some of the key maps I use in VS Code are the same ones I used in Cold Fusion Builder, which are the same ones I used in Dreamweaver, which are the same ones I used in HomeSite. And I'm such a creature of habit, I've kept some of those same key mappings all the way through all those programs. Like F8 opens my File Explorer. I've always kept that one.
Yeah, like and that's the thing is, a lot of things are just comfort and getting used to it. And so key maps are a great way if you're wanting to try it out, but you don't want to learn all the new shortcuts. It's definitely worth a go. And if you're wanting to get up to speed with what the current key maps are by default in VS Code, like I said, we have the reference sheets listed in the show notes. You can see those, and you can obviously Google it too. Look up shortcuts and key maps for VS Code, and they should be able to find those too. So I thought if you're going to use it, you want to be productive, shortcuts are pretty important. So So that's the hint, tip, and trick of the week for VS Code. And then lastly, we come to the sad time of the episode where we have to leave. But before we do, we'll want to once again.
Is it sad because you mispronounce all the names?
Well, that was my inside joke. Then yes, it's sad because we got to go. You won't be able to see us anymore this week. But it's also sad because I can't pronounce half these names. But yeah, we want to thank everybody who's a Patreon supporter. Your donations do go a long way. We appreciate it a lot. And there are new packages available if your company wants to support too. There's some higher paid packages, different packages with different support. But again, thank you to everybody who's supporting us month in, month out.
If you give Ortus enough money, we let you have a personal meeting with Luis like once a month or something and give him your list of demands. Dead serious.
Yeah.
All right. Ticket created for ForgeBox. It's in Jira, Gavin.
Okay.
Number format those commas. Done.
I'm surprised you haven't finished it already. Should have fixed it too.
I'll make Luis do it.
But anyway, so thank you, Andrew Davis, Gary Knight, Yan Yannick, Joseph Lemery, Laxma, Tito Hadi, Richard Herbert, John Farrar, Calvin Stetton, Don Bellamy, Samuel Knowlton, David Bellinger, Yogesh Mither, Stephen Klotz, Dan Card, Jeremy Adams, Brian White, Didi Ellis, Nikki, Scott Steinberg, Jordan Clark, Matthew Clemente, and Da Lee. So I think I'm getting better at mispronouncing them. It sounded good at least.
Getting better at mispronouncing them. Scott Steinbeck, I think I know him.
Yep. I think I'm having dinner with him tonight if that's still on. So.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So we'll talk about your module, I'm sure. He's pretty excited about it too.
Some extra caviar for me. Oh yeah, I've been bugging him at all hours of the day and night with my ideas about that module.
Cool.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think we've bored people to tears enough. You want to cut them loose? Let them get back to work.
Yep. Sounds good. Thanks everybody for listening. If you guys want to hear more, please check out the Soapbox podcast too. There's a few episodes there. And again, if you got anything to submit them, and we'll get them added here. A couple people reached out to me on Slack this week to get some of those links in there. So thank you, and make sure you guys have a great week. And hopefully we'll see you all at CF Summit in a couple months.
Adios, amigos.
Thanks, everybody. Show notes for this episode can be found on soapbox.modernize or die.io, where you can also subscribe to iTunes, Spotify, Overcast, or your favorite podcast player, or a link to the YouTube channel for more of these videos. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.